Hey, space nerds, it's Space 1015 here, and question a lot of you guys have is why and how is the Falcon 9 better than the Space Shuttle? So
I ask
today,
myself that all the time.
I do too, all the time, every day of the year. So we're gonna go into that a little bit and just talk to you guys about how it's better in every way.
Keep informed.
All right. So, okay, Drew.
So, the Falcon 9 is a rocket owned by SpaceX, which is a private rocket company owned by Elon Musk. And their main goal is to make space travel possible as well as cheap. They want to eventually make it to Mars and expand where humans live.
Yeah.
But as of right now, NASA has just been using the Falcon 9 to deliver satellites and all kinds of space mission-y stuff. Before this Falcon 9, NASA would launch the space shuttle, which was dangerous, it was expensive, it cost a metric ton of money.
And people have died in
Quite a few.
accidents quite a few times.
There's been two big ones.
It's
Well,
dangerous.
Yeah, the
The
Challenger and
Challenger.
the
Discovery?
Yep.
Discovery.
Something like that.
One of those. But okay, so
So what exactly makes the Falcon 9 rocket a much better choice than the space shuttle from NASA?
all right. Let's see.
Well, the biggest thing is that it's cheaper, and the reason it's cheaper to fly the Falcon 9 is mainly the way it lands. So the space shuttle, when it would take off, you have all these boosters and fuel tank that help get it up into the atmosphere. But once it's up there, it's dropping all of its equipment, and most of that equipment is not reusable. And if it is, it needs heavy refurbishment in order to be reused, which is unfathomably expensive. So where the Falcon 9 comes in is you've got boosters on it that actually are programmed to land themselves in coordinated areas so that they can be reused over much less refurbishment, and that in turn is a lot cheaper.
Yep. Yeah, so the way they do that actually is they have like their motors are on gimbals and they use just enough fuel extra in like when they launch to have enough fuel to turn themselves around and then fly back, and they use these grid fins that act pretty much like fletchings on an arrow to direct it on its way back. So then when it's like just above the ground, it'll fire its rocket really hard and then it'll land
Accelerate it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but Colin, how exactly does the cost affect, like how much is saved from just landing your rocket?
Well, let's put this into perspective. So the space shuttle cost $450 million per launch on average. So that's like all of them
US
combined.
dollars.
US dollars, yeah.
Just to make sure.
And that is a lot of money. And the Falcon 9 in comparison only costs $62 million per launch. But I mean, that is 7 times less than the space shuttle, which makes launching stuff to space a whole lot cheaper. So the money or the dollars per kilogram is way lower in this Falcon 9 rocket as well. And also, the space shuttle, it had a really long refurbishment period. So, because the way it came in, it would decelerate through the air, and when it's first going into the air, it is being bombarded by like hot ionized gases because it's going so fast that the air heats it up and has all these special little tiles on the bottom side that keeps it from exploding and burning up. So every time the space shuttle landed, they had to go through a very extensive refurbishment process to make sure all those tiles and the engines were up to spec for the next launch. Whereas the SpaceX Falcon 9 only has the first stage that is reused, and pretty much the refurbishment on that requires repainting it, fixing a couple things, making sure the engines are all fine, no damaged hoses, fuel tanks, etc. So it's not quite as extensive and time-consuming and costly as the space shuttle.
Alright.
So when it comes to safety, we already mentioned that the Falcon 9 is infinitely times safer than the NASA space shuttle, because being strapped to the side of a sort of controlled explosion might sound like a great idea and a lot of fun, but it's also really scary and rather dangerous. And that's exactly what happened with the space shuttle. We got this picture up here, and this is one giant explosion, and you are right there smack dab in the middle of it.
And stuff falling from up there can hit that. And that's what actually caused the Columbia disaster. So apparently on launch, some of the foam covering the fuel tank, fuel tank, hit the wing and damaged one of those tiles, and they didn't notice. And when it fell back down to Earth, it disintegrated into the wing, like the heat messed with the structure of the wing, and then it fell apart when it came in.
And also, I don't know if we've mentioned this or not yet, but those explosions of the boosters on the space shuttle, once they're started, they can't be stopped.
Yeah,
they're really just cylinders of solid and liquid fuel, right?
The outside boosters are solid fuel.
Right. So once they start burning, they can't stop. So
Yeah.
if something breaks or something goes wrong, you can't just let off the throttle and stop your boosters from going. Once they start, they stop when they're out of fuel. So
Yep.
that can be catastrophic.
So how do you fix sitting in the middle of a control explosion? Instead of sitting smack dab in the middle, you put it right on top.
Yep.
That way, if something does go bad, the little parachute in the top
And also
can float you back down.
the top part has a rocket in itself that can fly it away from the chaos that might be happening below. That actually happened in a recent Soyuz Russian rocket incident where on their ship they have 4 boosters that separate, but one of them failed to separate right and it hit the bottom of it. So it sent it all into a chaos, but they had a capsule on top and it fired its rockets and got itself away from the malfunctioning first stage and was able to save the crew. And that just is a testament to how the capsule system is a lot better than the space shuttle.
Because that wouldn't have been happening on the space shuttle.
Yeah, it was. If that was the space shuttle, they most likely would not be around today. So, is that about it for that we have?
Oh, we got rocket cheap, rocket land, but most importantly,
Rocket